So today's video is going to be about John Ryder and the WBA situation. So David Morrell Jr is 4-0 with 3 knockouts. He's been elevated to WBA regular super middleweight champion. That very distinction was made today by WBA President Gilberto Mendoza. David Morrell, he's 4-0 as I said, he's 23. He's a Cuban who resides in America. He was good. He was a good junior as an amateur. Didn't do much as a senior really. Decided to go into the professional ranks. But yeah, he's been elevated to regular champion, and that has caused an issue because John Ryder was highly ranked. I believe may have been number 1 with the WBA. So the WBA have now given each team's representatives 30 days to come up with a fight deal. But my concern is regarding the alphabetical belts. So the WBA, the WBC, the WBO and the IBF seem to be making boxing complicated. You know, at very least the rankings and who holds what title. But the WBA in particular have really been the one that have irritated me the most in recent times, along with the WBC. But the WBC, you know, they're notorious for just putting whoever they want to be the holder of that title in a position to fight for that title. That's just how the WBC happen to operate. But back to this situation with David Morrell and John Ryder. I feel sorry for John Ryder in many ways. You know, he's worked tirelessly. He's improved. You know, when you consider he boxed Billy Joe Saunders for the British title at middleweight. He went on and boxed Nick Blackwell. He got stopped against Nick Blackwell. He then rebuilt. You know, he's gone here, there, and everywhere. He's fought. You know, he's fought some people, tough people. You know, he fought Callum Smith. Many thought he beat Callum Smith. I know Joe Gallagher isn't one of those, but and they certainly don't want to rematch John Ryder. But he's become a bit of a forgotten man in boxing. He's young, he can fight. When he turns up, he can be exciting. He does have a tendency to switch off now and then, which can be frustrating because, you know, when you know a fighter's got the talent, but sometimes their work ethic on fight night doesn't back that talent up. I'm not saying John Ryder doesn't work hard. He seems like a consummate professional. You know, I haven't known of him missing weight or any sort of shenanigans regarding John Ryder, but he does switch off during fights and he does coast, and that can be frustrating. But I think he deserves a big fight. You know, he keeps getting. You know, like I say, he fought Callum Smith. He's fought Billy Joe Saunders. He's fought domestic guys like Nick Blackwell. He stopped Sheffield's Adam Etches a few years ago. I think the guy needs to be built correctly. I mean, I'm not criticising Eddie Hearn here by any way, but it just seems like he's an afterthought. You know, Eddie's busy with Callum. If he's not busy with Callum, he's busy with somebody else. You know, but poor John Ryder seems to be a bit of an afterthought for Eddie in terms of profile and building him. But, you know, this WBA situation, in a way, it's a good thing for John Ryder because it puts him in a prime position to fight David Morrell Jr for the WBA regular championship. And the only downfall is that Morrell's a 4-0 novice who fight fans probably don't know who he is really. It's not something to write home about. So it may be a case of take the short end of the stick for John Ryder, go out there, win the title, and hopefully get a big fight off the back of that. I can see down the line, I can see Chris Eubank Jr fight materialising, I think, for John Ryder. I think that would be something that British fans would like to get their teeth into. But yeah, the sanctioning bodies are really, 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 they need to sort it out. Because with social media and new age boxing fans, I think so much is put on, which fighter holds which belt, whether it's the WBA regular, WBA super, WBA intercontinental, or the WBC silver, the WBC championship, the WBC emeritus, the WBC franchise. It's like, come on, we're tired of it. Boxing fans, this is, records are for DJs. We don't care about records and we don't care about titles. A title, a world championship title does not validate a fighter's ability. It's that simple. Being a world champion is one thing, but being a credible world champion is based on the opposition faced, the opposition beaten for that particular world championship. It's that simple. Like if you've beaten solid guys and you've earned the world title, people give you credit for it. I don't even want to call the WBA a regular title or a world championship, but unfortunately, if this fight does happen and John Ryder faces David Morrell Jr for the WBA regular super middleweight title, and he wins that, John Ryder will be called a world champion, and I don't think that's John Ryder's fault. He has to stay within the lines of the politics of boxing, but I think it does boxing a disservice when, how is David Morrell Jr 4-0 with 3 knockouts? How is he in a position? How is he in the top 10 that the WBA have called a fight between John Ryder and Morrell Jr for the WBA regular title? I mean, how do you manoeuvre a guy into the top 10 in under 5 fights? We're not talking about a Vasily Lomachenko or an Alexander Usyk who has a fantastic amateur background and they've got something to build off of in terms of profile. Like these guys won various gold medals. This young lad, he's had 4 fights, and he somehow has been manoeuvred into the top 10 of the WBA rankings, and now a fight between himself and John Ryder will decide who the WBA regular world champion is going to be. I mean, that's wrong. It's just not how boxing is. I think it just gives boxing a black eye when things like that happen. But as per usual, it will get brushed under the carpet, and all parties involved will be happy that they're fighting for the WBA regular title, and the eventual winner will claim to be, king of the division and world champion and all that carry on. But for me, I'm very, very, very frustrated at how these governing bodies are acting, because we know that the more belts, the more fighters pay sanctioning fees, the more their pockets get lined. That's the reality of it. But it's just frustrating. I mean, I'd rather see John Ryder in a non-title fight, but a credible opponent. that's just my opinion. I mean, I'd be quite happy to see John Ryder against Anthony Yildirim, or John Ryder against Chris Eubank Jr. You know, they're fights that I wouldn't mind seeing. I don't want to see John Ryder fight David Morrell Jr for the WBA regular title, because I quite frankly think it's a joke. But hey, that's my rant over on it. So yeah, let's just hope 2021 doesn't end how it started, because it started really shit. January, boxing cancelled. Boxing commences the second week of Feb, and today the WBA have called David Morrell Jr against John Ryder for the WBA regular super middleweight title. Don't know how. Don't know how they're going to even justify it, but we'll see. That's my rant over anyway.